Hello everyone and welcome to Part of Sarah's World. I'm Sarah and for this video we're going to be talking about what it's like to go to Disney all by yourself. And just as a disclaimer, we are going to get close and personal today. I am pretty close to the camera because I usually record these on my phone, but I'm trying to increase the quality of my videos. I hope that this helps it and doesn't hurt it. We're going to give it a shot. One thing I do know is that it is going to sound a little echoey. I do apologize. I hope it doesn't distract you too much. But without further ado, let's jump right into the video. Today's video is going to be all about going to Walt Disney World solo. I'm going to break this video up into 3 parts. Pros and cons of going by yourself, question and answers from my Instagram followers about going by myself, and tips I have for those who want to go to Disney by themselves. But before we talk about that, I do want to mention why I go to Disney World by myself. I don't go by myself every time, however, I do a lot because when I first got my pass, I got it with 3 friends who work on weekdays. I do not work on weekdays and I want to go on weekdays because, you know, it's a lot less busy. And I want to make most of my pass because Disney passes are not cheap. So when I first started going to Disney by myself, it was just because of like schedule conflicts and because I wanted to make most of my pass. Now I go because of those things, but also because I take lots of pictures and I film YouTube videos and I find it really nice to go by myself to focus on those things. And now we're going to jump into the pros and the cons of going to Disney World solo. I'm going to discuss 3 pros and 3 cons. Pro number 1, and one that has many facets to it, is you could do anything you want. Now, I know most of you probably realize that that is the main advantage of going by yourself, but I just want to talk about how great it is to do whatever you want. When you go to Disney World, there are hundreds and hundreds of decisions to make each day. What time do you want to wake up? What time should we get to the park? Should we take the tram or should we walk? Where should we eat? When should we eat? When should we take a break? Should we not take a break? Do you want to go park hopping? Do you want to stay at the park? What ride do you want to ride next? What do you think we should use our fast pass for? How long should we really wait for this ride? I don't want to wait in a ride for 40 minutes. Well, I really like this ride, so I want to wait 40 minutes. And that is just the tip of the iceberg. You know, you have, when should we get to the castle to watch the fireworks? Should we even watch the fireworks? I'm kind of tired and my feet hurt. I kind of want to go home. I think we should take this time to do 7 George instead of watching the fireworks. I mean, there's just so many decisions. And we all know that the more people you have in a group, the more opinions there are, the more difficult it is to make decisions. If you eliminate the other people and just have yourself, it doesn't even feel like you're making decisions half the time. You just naturally do what you want without giving it any thought. It's such a freeing feeling. Like even if you go with people that, you know, you relate to, that you agree with on most things, like I do, there's still times where you're just like worried what the other person's thinking. You're just like, oh, I don't know. Like, I think I want to do this, but I think the other person wants to do this. It's just a lot. So yeah, going by yourself eliminates a lot of that stress. And just to make one more point, as far as like you can do whatever you want, I mean, you have complete freedom. If you want to ride Expedition Everest 7 times in a row, you can do that. I've done that several times. If you don't want to ride Test Track because you don't like the ride, you don't have to sacrifice, you know, waiting in line to ride it just because your friends want to ride it. You can do whatever you want. Con number 1, money. Basically, you're either going to be spending a lot more money or you're going to be missing out on some stuff. Really, the main part of this point is referring to food and snacks. For example, the Epcot Food and Wine Festival. Have you ever tried going by yourself? It is sad because you can't get as much stuff as you normally would. Like, I love going with my good friend because we get a bunch of stuff and we split it all, you know? And it just doesn't feel that expensive and we get our bang for our buck. But going by myself, I typically only get a couple things, or else I would just be spending a lot of money and eating a lot of food that I probably couldn't finish. So yeah, it's a pretty self-explanatory con, but it's a pretty big one. On to pro number 2. Unfortunately, this one is slightly irrelevant right now, but let's just go with it. Less time waiting in line. When you go to Disney World by yourself, you will most likely spend a lot less time waiting in line, and that is for a couple of reasons. The first reason why you may spend less time in line is because of the single rider options. Now, unfortunately, there's not a lot of single rider options, but they are for pretty big rides, such as Test Track, Smuggler's Run, Rock and Roller Coaster, and X-Vision Everest. Now, you can use a single rider line even if you are not going by yourself, but your party will be split up. And one thing I like to do when I go with my friends to Disney is ride rides with them. So I don't often use a single rider with them, but by myself, definitely use that, and it definitely saves time. The other reason why you may spend less time in line, which is not currently a thing right now, but fast passes. So when you are by yourself versus like being with a group of 5 people, your fast pass availability is definitely going to open up. I've had wonderful luck getting fast passes. I mean, I've had luck going with people, but I think going by yourself definitely helps you out when it comes to getting that fast pass advantage. Con number 2, there's no one there to take pictures for you. Without anyone to take pictures for you, you either have to utilize self-timer, which I am not a fan of, or you will utilize your PhotoPass pictures, which not everyone has PhotoPass, but then also for me, PhotoPass pictures often don't come out the way I would like them to. And because we are in a season of social distancing, you are not supposed to take someone else's phone to take pictures for them. People do ask, and you have every right to say no. For me, I do not ask other people to take my picture, so I'm pretty much left with either self-timer or PhotoPass. Moving on to the last pro that I will mention, you can appreciate your surroundings a lot more when you're by yourself. This may not seem like a big deal, but in my time of going by myself, it has made a huge impact on my love for Disney and just my overall experience whenever I go. I have grown a much deeper appreciation for the theming and the atmosphere and even the cast members. Like going by yourself, you notice a lot that you don't typically notice, and it just makes your love of Disney grow even more. And one thing I love about just being able to take it all in, soak in the atmosphere and all that kind of stuff is I'm able to take more pictures. I'm able to see more things that inspire me. And it has definitely become something that I am a huge fan of, just walking around and taking pictures. The last con is something that I get asked about a lot and that many of you could probably predict, and that is the loneliness factor. I do enjoy going to Disney by myself, but it does get lonely sometimes, and sharing the magic with other people is something that's really special. To give you all an example, I went to Magic Kingdom with my friend not too long ago, and it was her first time going back to Disney since like the reopenings, so lines were a lot less and things like that. And at the end of the day, she was like, oh, like this was just like the best day, like the best Magic Kingdom day. I mean, I'm sure you've had better days, you know, because it was like less crowded and stuff. And I was just kind of like, yeah, I mean, you know, I've had like better luck, but today was much better than those days because I was able to spend it with you. So as cheesy as that sounds, it is really nice going with other people. Well, that wraps up the pros and cons of going to Walt Disney World by yourself. I'm going to move on to the next part of this video, which is the Q&A about going by yourself. A few days ago, I put up a question box on my Instagram asking my followers what questions they have for me regarding going to Disney World by myself. So if you don't follow me on Instagram already, you can do so at Part of Sarah's World, and I frequently ask questions, and I hope to do like a my followers decide what I do in a day kind of video coming up. So go ahead and follow me there so that you don't miss out on that. I have your questions right here, so let's go ahead and get started. Number 1. Does waiting in line make you feel awkward or lonely? How do you entertain yourself? So waiting in line for rides and stuff at Disney, I feel about the same as I do like in a grocery store line, so not very awkward. What I do to entertain myself, I'm usually just on my phone. Not the most interesting answer, but that's also why I bring a backup charger, because I am usually maybe on Instagram messaging people because I post a lot of my stories throughout the day, usually checking on other wait times, things like that. So I keep myself occupied that way. I also people watch. It is very interesting hearing some of the conversations around me. So people watch and on my phone. Question number 2 is kind of similar to that, and it is eating alone awkward? No. I'm used to it though. I'm pretty sure that several years ago, if I would have gone to a restaurant by myself, I would have felt incredibly awkward. I'm very much used to it now, and usually I'm on my phone or people watching or eating, so it's really not an issue for me. Question number 3 is, what are the best single rider lines? Now there are 4 single rider options, which is Expedition Everest, Rock and Roll Coaster, Test Track, and Smuggler's Run. By far, the quickest single rider line, in my experience, is Expedition Everest. I have not waited more than 5 minutes in that line. I mean, I'm pretty sure the busier the day is, you might have to wait more, but I mean, it just goes by so fast for some reason. So definitely Expedition Everest for sure. Question number 4 is, who takes your pictures? And I touched on it earlier. I do. It's a disadvantage for sure, but I do, or PhotoPass does. Question number 5. Now I got this one quite a bit, and it is, do I miss sharing the experience with someone else? And that is something I touched on. And yeah, a lot of the times I do miss sharing the experience with someone else. Not all the time though. Sometimes I will leave the park and like, I am so glad I was by myself. It was an awesome day and I don't regret not being with anyone else. But that's not every time. And I do think that magic can be made no matter what, because you are at Disney World. But I do miss being with people sometimes. The last question is, what is your favorite part about going to Disney by yourself and your least favorite part? So my favorite part is being able to relax and take it all in. Just being able to kind of go without an itinerary sometimes. That's definitely the best part. My least favorite part would be the not being able to share certain moments. There are definitely certain times in the day where I'm just like, wish my boyfriend was here, wish my friends were here. So that would be like my least favorite. We have made it to the final part of the video, which is my tips for you if you decide to go to Walt Disney World by yourself. Tip number 1. Have an additional reason for going to the parks. This tip might be particularly helpful for those who have a big fear of being lonely if they go to the parks by themselves. So some examples of additional reasons why you might go to the park would be to take pictures, for example. You know, I take pictures for my Instagram, so that keeps me busy, it keeps me occupied, it keeps me focused. It kind of eliminates that like dead space where I feel lonely. Right now I do YouTube videos, which definitely keeps me busy, that's for sure. For other people, it might be, you know, shopping for a really cute outfit and then going to the parks wearing that cute outfit and taking pictures and feeling good. So there's lots of additional ways you can make your time like extra productive when you're at the park, so you just don't feel lonely. I don't know. Tip number 2 would be to bring a small tripod. Now Disney does prohibit like selfie sticks, and I believe like you have to look it up, but a certain size of tripods, but I just have like a little holder, like a handheld little thing, and I use that if I have to take pictures of myself. So I definitely recommend that you get one of those as well if you go by yourself. Tip number 3 might be a little weird, but I promise it's a good idea. And that is to bring Tupperware. Earlier in this video, I mentioned snacks, how Disney has a lot of snacks and a lot of them are really big and you might not finish the whole thing. For me, I did a video where I tried so many snacks and I did like 2 videos in one day and it was all snack reviews, and I really could have used some Tupperware because unfortunately I ended up throwing away a lot of the snacks that I could have saved and eaten at a later time. So that would be a really good thing to bring. Tip number 4 is to do something that you've always wanted to do but have never done before. To give you all an example, I always wanted to take the train to Rafiki's Planet Watch at Animal Kingdom, and I always wanted to do the animation experience. But when I was with my friends, we just kind of went from one place to another, and I really never got to experience it, especially because it does close early, and so you have to get there earlier. But one day I was by myself, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna make a point to get there and do that. And it was a really awesome experience, and one that I may not have ever experienced if I just went with my friends. My final piece of advice would be for those who would really like to go to Disney by themselves, but are really afraid that they're going to feel awkward or out of place or lonely or something. And that is to go somewhere else by yourself first and kind of get used to that feeling before going to Disney and doing it. Now, I want to make a disclaimer, and that is please do not go anywhere that you feel unsafe. If you are someone who does not go places by yourself, make sure that someone you love knows where you are at all times and text them regularly or something like that. But just go to a restaurant or something, or someplace that you are familiar with, but that you typically go with other people, just to kind of habituate to that feeling of being by yourself and seeing if potentially going to Disney would be right for you or not. Well, that about wraps up this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and let me know in the comments if you would ever consider going to Disney by yourself, or if you had gone by yourself, let me know how your experience was. And thank you all so much for watching. Seriously, if you've made it this far, you have no idea how much it means to me. And if you haven't subscribed already, you can do so you don't miss any of my videos, and leave a comment if you have any additional questions about my experience going to Disney by myself. And also, if you haven't been back to Disney World since the reopening, and if you would like to know more about that, I do have a video where I talk about my uncommon advice for those who are going to Disney during this time of COVID. And just remember, everyone, that no matter where I am or where you are, we can find happiness right where we are. Thanks for watching.